So, I've noticed a trend among VTubers recently. While just hanging out, browsing YouTube, and coming across a bunch of clips, I find that there are a lot of VTubers that don't really know how to explain their job to people who ask. Specifically, accountants, passport people at airport when traveling, that sort of thing. And I kind of find this surprising because I've never had this issue. In fact, it's really easy for me to describe what I do, and there are a bunch of different ways that you can go about doing it. Originally, I was going to leave the general advice at the end of the video after we react to some clips and talk about what they're saying and what they're doing wrong. But generally, there are two things when you talk to somebody about what you do. Two things you want to avoid. One, you don't want to lie. It's bad to do, it could get you into trouble and make things more complicated than they need to be. The second thing that you don't want to do is hesitate, stutter, or avoid the question altogether. Because it looks suspicious. I mean, think about it. If you ask somebody, like, nobody who works in retail hesitates. If they get asked, they go, yeah, I work in retail, or I'm an engineer, I'm a handyman, etc. You know, there's no courage the cowardly dog stuttering ums and ohs. But I understand that it can be getting put on the spot can make you like sort of stutter and stuff like that. But when you struggle to give a straight answer as to something simple like what do you do for work, you look like a criminal, because that's something that a criminal would do. So my go-to when it comes to explaining to normal people what it is I do, and this is something that a lot of people can relate to. If you've ever streamed or recorded, then you've at the very least heard of OBS. OBS aren't just a bunch of random letters that sound good. They stand for something. OBS stands for Open Broadcaster Software. There you go. It's really that simple. So if I get asked, what do I do? Well, I work in open broadcasting. Open broadcasting services and open broadcasting software. Now, usually that's gonna get, accompanied by some other questions, but explaining it is really simple. If they go, well, what is that exactly? And I go, well, it's a very similar service to streaming platforms like Netflix, Hulu, etc. None of that is technically a lie. There's no technically to it. It's completely true. The system and services that go into live streaming to Twitch, Kick, YouTube, or anywhere else on the internet is a very similar process to streaming videos or music. You didn't lie, and it's very true. If they continue to press for questions or more details, you can say that you're a software operator for open broadcasting. You don't have to tell them your channel, you don't have to tell them that you're a VTuber, anything of the sort. And there are multiple other ways that you could spin this as well. But first I want to jump into some of these clips that I found. There were a whole bunch more, but when I started to actually look for them, I couldn't find them. Okay, so for our first clip, we have the one and only IronMouse, aka Tungsten Rat, featuring the monkey, Sea-Dog VA.
Yeah, because dude, streaming on paper looks like really sketch, or YouTubing, because it's like you have a business that has nearly no costs, like no running costs for the business, and money just comes in randomly from thousands of accounts. It's so sketchy on paper. It looks like money laundering.
I got a fucking account.
Okay. So in response to that, if you have to explain to an accountant or someone that why you're getting so many small amounts of money from a bunch of different accounts, yes, I get how that could look a little bit on the suspicious side. But again, you can't explain your way out of it. In open broadcasting, you can say that clients are able to pay you directly as opposed to going through a middleman. That's why there are so many different accounts sending you money directly. They're your clients, and receiving donations from them is them paying you directly. Again, no lie. It's true.
Could you imagine when you go to the IRS, you're like, so I've just received 10,000 payments from other accounts in $1 increments, and by the way, the business didn't cost anything to run. This is
okay. So 1,000 payments in increments of $1 to $2. Again, these are microservices that you are. It's a service that you're providing remotely, so you work from home, which is why you have little operating costs, and that's why there's so many small charges.
totally legit business, I can explain. And then they're like, okay.
My accountant was very weirded out when we first met.
Yeah, probably.
When we first met.
I found an accountant that specialized in like internet stuffs.
Yes,
That's very good.
I see.
That's
well, so they kind of like are familiar with like gamers and stuff, but I'm like their first like VTuber.
You're their first VTuber gamer, bro. It's like a streaming agency, but for accountants. They're like, yeah, we've got everyone, bro. We got VTubers, we got gamers.
Yeah, like they didn't even know what the fuck a VTuber. I remember when I was.
So if you have an accountant that's familiar with streamers and gamers, then you probably don't need to mention that you're a VTuber. That's kind of irrelevant.
Explaining to them like what I did, they like did research for like a week, and they're like, "This VTubing stuff, what the fuck?"
I mean,
What the heck?
that shouldn't have too much bearing on your job. I mean, you just say that you're a streamer. I mean, if they know what that means, then, they'll understand how you get paid. Being a VTuber, I don't think that really changes too much. Shouldn't have mattered, shouldn't have really come up. Plus, accountants understand that discretion and privacy are very important in their line of work. So, worrying about your identity getting out or you getting doxxed isn't really too big of a deal.
Well,
For accounting, anyway.
they were so confused, and then they have like a bookkeeper, and like I think the lady thought at first that I was doing other stuff, cause
The other stuff that she's alluding to is adult entertainment or pornography, basically. This is something that I hear VTubers get a lot because they are unable to describe what type of content they do or what they do in general. That's a skill issue. I'm not gonna lie. That's a total skill issue. I mean, just because you do content on the internet doesn't necessarily mean that it's pornographic in nature. And if you would just say, hey, the type of things that I do are... You don't even have to say that you play video games. If you've ever commented on the quality of a video game, you could say that you review software. You're a software analyst. There are a bunch of different things that you can say other than saying I play video games and people pay me for it, because your average person isn't going to really understand what that means.
Yeah.
yeah,
So, yeah.
I think I know, but I don't know.
no.
Oh, trust me, Connor, you know. So yeah, that's Mouse's situation with her accountant, but there are other examples of this, right? Let's take Cinder.
I've got this tax guy, right? My accountant, and
Huh?
I just like email him all the stuff I need to, like every couple months, so I don't have it like building up and whatever. And so we'll like email back and forth a couple times, each season, I guess, each quarter. And the reason why I work with this particular guy is because he also does taxes for my mom's work, like for her business, and she kind of like runs
Nice.
like that side of the business. And
Speaking from experience, that sort of thing is super good because it establishes like multiple lines of trust between clients and their accountants. So like if the accountant is working with various members of the family in different, areas, that sort of thing makes them more likely to do a good job with working with you, because if they lose business with you, they could potentially lose business with your family, and they want to keep that multiple sources of income going. So that's really good for both you as a client and them as an accountant. That sort of thing is really, really
And
positive.
so she also has meetings with the same tax guy that I do. And today, the tax guy had visited my mom to discuss the numbers for her like workplace, because she handles all that. My mom was
Okay?
talking to me when she got home from work today.
She
She's like,
handles the
"Hey,
numbers.
Mr. Tax Guy and I were just like chatting about you for like 2 hours." She says, "I just got off of work and he like just left. Like we were just like yapping and we barely got to all of our stuff because he had so many questions about like what you do, and he wanted to know like what your channel name is, because he knows like I stream and I do
Okay?
like
So he
video
also
content."
knows.
But he was like, "So like what's her channel name?" My mom's like, "I really can't tell you because she tries to stay anonymous and blah blah blah." And he goes, "I had another
Hold on.
client that."
Before we go any further, Cinder's mom probably should have said this instead of, trying to be anonymous, because an accountant, I mean, your accountant isn't going to go and try and leak your personal information, so keeping secrets like that is just going to make them more curious. Instead, what she should have said is, Cinder does work on multiple different channels, so I can't really tell you, you know, her channel. She does work on different places with different people. Again, it's not a lie. Cinder has her own YouTube channel. She has a Twitch channel. I think she has a VOD channel and some other things going on too. So she has multiple different things that are technically under her name. So instead of saying that, I can't tell you because, anonymous or information or things like that, she could have just said, Cinder does work on various different things. Can't really narrow it down to just one. And yeah, that would have also helped with what Cinder's about to say next.
Was looking into. She said she could make like really big like numbers in 2 years, and I was so confused because he's like an older guy, right? He's kind of like new to the online creator income type vibe, and he was like she was trying to go on this website, and it has a 2-year plan to make 500 grand, and it's called fan something only some fans, and my mom's just like, only fans. And the tax guy's like, yeah, I guess she's trying to do that, and one of her friends who lives upstate is doing that too, and she's really well off. But it sounds like it's some kind of like like adult entertainment, and my mom's like, Cinder does not do that. That is not what Cinder does.
And see, that kind of goes into it. When you have all of these little secrets and you're very cloak and dagger about it, people are either going to assume that you're doing something illegal or that you're doing something horny.
And the tax guy's like, "Oh no, I wasn't trying to imply that." The way my mom was in like a little panic, trying to explain to the tax guy that it wasn't an OnlyFans girl. Anything for the bag, yeah, absolutely no shame to anybody who does that. Get your.
I mean, for Cinder, this is especially surprising because she does cosplay, she has merchandise, she's got a lot going on. So, I mean, when it comes to telling your accountant what you do, You know, there's a lot more to it than just saying, "Oh, I'm an entertainer" or anything like that. It's a business. She's got a brand. So she could have spun that much, much better. My last example of this sort of scenario is actually different than the first two by a lot. IronMouse and Cinder are VTubers. They're independent. Well, Cinder's independent. Mouse is part of the Shoujo, which is kind of independent, kind of indie. The last one is a corporate VTuber, and the situation isn't about accounting. So let's take a look at the Warden of Time, Oro Crony, of Hololive English.
To see how I'm gonna explain the MC, and it doesn't help that MC is abbreviation for Master of Ceremonies. How am I gonna say, oh yeah, I'm the Master of Ceremonies? It doesn't make any sense. So I was like, I'm like going there to talk.
So, for context, she's being checked at the airport. That's why airplane is in the upper left corner of the screen. And she's being interviewed about why she's traveling.
To people, like I could have just said I'm an entertainer or something, and they were like, I've never met anyone who has such a difficult time at explaining what their job is. I was like, yeah, I mean, I don't really know. And so they were asking me where I worked, going into really, really specific details, like, where do you work? And I said, Hololive, and...
Horrible mistake number one. She is a member of Hololive, but there's actually a much better way for her own personal privacy and for the sake of clarity, and it can be found on the real company, the company that owns Hololive, CoverCorp. And if you go to CoverCorp's official website and you scroll a little bit, you'll see that they're in VTuber production, media mix, metaverse, and then a statement about, the future outlook. So she could have said that she works for CoverCorp, and CoverCorp is a agency, not an idol agency. Talent agency. That's the word I was looking for, talent. CoverCorp is a talent agency that works in online media with the development of merchandise and sponsorships, and she's traveling to be a host at an event for this talent agency. Again, she says a little bit earlier in this clip that she wasn't thinking clearly because she was put on the spot. And again, I understand that all of that information when you're on the spot is kind of difficult to come up with, but she could have said simply, I work for CoverCorp and it is a talent agency. International talent agency. That's why I'm going overseas.
They told me, who are you? And I was kind of putting up a front, like a last stage front.
You don't want to do that.
Well, I'm actually under NDA. And then they said, well, we're gonna have to decide whether we're gonna let you in or not, depending on your answer. And I responded,
yep.
No. Well, I mean, that's true. And then...
So NDAs are complicated. And when it comes to talking to certain authorities, saying that you're under NDA isn't a good enough reason to withhold information, especially if you're trying to do something like travel internationally. She didn't have to tell anyone what her channel was. Or what her VTubing name was.
And then they asked me what the concert name was called.
Oh, it's for a concert.
And I was kind of embarrassed. I was a little embarrassed. So I looked down on the ground and muttered, breaking dimensions. It was called Breaking Dimensions. And yeah, so I didn't have the thing that they needed, so I called my manager, and everything worked out, and I got in, and as I was being let out of the secondary inspection room, breaking NDA.
Breaking NDA, that's hilarious.
Yeah. It was embarrassing when I said breaking dimensions, because the other person, like, sitting next to the person was just, like, giving a side glance, like, breaking dimensions.
So, needless to say, she didn't handle that particularly well. The more flustered she got, the more suspicious it was that, you know, she couldn't answer, like, what her job was or why she was going to travel. And when you're in that situation, it prompts them to ask more questions. But do you know of any other VTubers that have been in this situation? Are you a content creator that's ever been asked what you do for a living and been unable to answer? I'd love to hear about it down in the comments below. What do you think of the advice that I gave about, you know, saying that you work in open broadcasting or that you work for a talent agency? What are some of the things that you would say if you were put in either of these situations? Interesting stuff, I think. I also have a bunch of opinions about, or a bunch of advice about how you could put what you've done over your time as a content creator on a resume. Because a lot of people don't take into consideration just what goes into it. You could really have a very impressive resume if you just explore and expand upon the ideas of all of the different aspects of what goes into being a content creator. But if this video does well and you're interested in that, let me know, and we'll see about getting that done. That's gonna do it for me. As always, thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all in another video.